يا أيها الناس قد جاءكم برهان من ربكم وأنزلنا إليكم نورا مبينا.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. This lesson will give a comparison of the rules of Laam Saakinah, which are covered in Tajweed QA Part 2, and we will look at some practical examples. So the Laam Saakinah is found in all three types of words. It's found in nouns, Laam al-Ism, it's found in verbs, Laam al-Fi'l, and it's also found in particles, Laam al-Harf. In nouns, we have three types of Laam al-Ism. The first type is Laam Asliya. Laam Asliya is where the Lam is found in the root word and it cannot be taken out, and the hukm will always be wajib idhar. Examples are al-Fafan and Zilzalan. So if you see a Laam Saakinah in a word which contains a tanween, and if you remember that the tanween is a sound of a noun, so therefore you can say it's a Laam al-Ism. The second type is Laam al-Ism Zaida Lazima. This is where the Lam is not in the root word, but it is Lazim, i.e. it cannot be taken out. And this is found in two types of words, Al-Asma al-Mawsul and the Dharf. So Al-Asma al-Mawsul is the relative pronoun. A relative pronoun is used to connect a clause or a phrase to a noun or a pronoun. And the most common ones are the words such as who, whom, whose, which, that. And in Arabic we have alladhina, alladhi, allati, allati. And dharf is a adverb which is classed as a type of noun, and it's found in the one word al-an, which is a dharf, classified as a dharf in Arabic. And the third type is called Laam al-Ism Zaida ghayr lazima. This is where the lam can be removed from the word, and this is what we refer to in the lam al-ta'rif. And we have wajib idgham for the lam shamsiyya letters such as as-salata, and we have wajib idhar for the lam al-qamariyya words such as al-walidaini. So in lam al-ism asliya, the hukm is always wajib idhar. In Laam al-Ism Zaid al-Lazima, the hukm is idgham if it's followed by another lam, and everywhere else the hukm is idhar. And in Laam al-Ism az-Zaida ghayr lazima, the hukm is idgham if it's in the lam shamsiyya letters, and it's idhar in the lam qamariyya letters. So now we come to the verbs. The Laam Saakinah can be found in past, present and command tense verbs. And the hukm is idgham with the Laam Saakinah when it's followed by lam or ra, and everywhere else the hukm is wajib idhar. Examples of past, present and command. So in the past tense we have وَأَدْخَلْنَاهُ, and in the present we have يُدْخِلْهُ, and in the command verb we have وَأَدْخِلْ. So the lam al-fi'l can be found in the past, present or command, and the hukm is wajib idgham if it's followed by the lam is followed by another lam or a ra, and everywhere else it's wajib idhar. So we also have Laam al-Amr, which is an extra commanding lam which is found in the present tense verb, and this lam is preceded by the three particles either fa, waw or thumma, with the exception of three places where it's found without these particles, which we will come to later, and the hukm is always wajib idhar. And examples of Laam al-Amr are وَلْيُمْلِلِ and ثُمَّ لْيَقْطَعْ and فَلْيَنْظُرْ. And lastly we have Laam al-Harf, which is in particles, So this is found in the particles hal and bal. And the hukm is idgham when the Laam Saakinah is followed by lam or ra, and everywhere else it's wajib idhar. And examples are hal lakum, where we have idgham, and bal zuyyina, where we have idhar. The student studying the rules of Laam Saakinah should be able to give differences between the different types of Laam Saakinah found. So for example, the student should be able to give differences between Laam Asliya and Laam al-Zaida al-Lazima. So both of them are types of Laam al-Ism. They should be able to bring differences between the two. So Laam Asliya is the original Laam in the Laam in nouns, and Laam al-Zaida al-Lazima is an extra Laam in nouns, but cannot be taken out. Another difference is that Laam Asliya, the hukm is always wajib idhar, and for Laam Zaida al-Lazima, the hukm is idgham when it's followed by another Laam and is idhar elsewhere. A third difference is that Laam al-Ism Zaida al-Lazima is specific for the relative pronouns and for the adverb al-an, whereas Laam Asliya is not specific for any type of words. And another difference, the student can bring examples as a difference. So an example of Laam Asliya is ilmuha, salsabila, and khalqi. And examples of Laam al-Ism Zaida al-Lazima are allati, alladhina, and also the word al-an, which we've already covered. So differences between two types of Laam al-Ism, az-Zaida ghayr al-Lazima and az-Zaida al-Lazima. So Zaida ghayr al-Lazima is an extra Laam which is not necessary, i.e. it can be taken out from the word, whereas Laam al-Zaida al-Lazima is an extra Laam which is necessary, it cannot be removed from the word. The hukm of al-Zaida ghayr lazima is always wajib idhar for Laam Shamsiya, and it's always wajib idgham for Laam Qamariya, whereas for the Laam al-Zaida al-Lazima, the hukm is idgham when it's followed by another Laam, and it's idhar elsewhere. So the rules of idgham and idhar are different between the two types of Laam al-Ism. Another difference is that Laam al-Zaida ghayr lazima is specific for the Laam al-Ta'rif, and al-Zaida al-Lazima is specific for the relative pronouns and for the adverb al-an. And again, the student can bring an example as a difference. So examples of al-Zaida ghayr lazima are as-Sabil and al-Jannah. And examples of al-Zaida al-Lazima are allati, alladhina. Now let's look at the differences found in Laam Saakinah, found in two types of verbs. So we have Laam al-Amr and we have Laam al-Fi'l al-Amr. So Laam al-Amr is a Laam Saakinah which is found in present tense verbs, whereas Laam al-Fi'l al-Amr is a Laam Saakinah found in command verbs. So this is an important difference that the student must understand. The Laam al-Amr is the Laam which is commanding, whereas in the Laam al-Fi'l al-Amr, the verb is the commanding, is what is commanding the action, not the Laam. So the verb is commanding in Laam al-Fi'l al-Amr, whereas in Laam al-Amr, the Laam is commanding. And in Laam al-Fi'l al-Amr, the hukm is wajib idgham if the Laam Saakinah is followed by a Laam or a Ra, and idhar elsewhere, whereas with Laam al-Amr, the hukm is always wajib idhar. In Laam al-Amr, the Laam Saakinah is preceded by the particles fa, waw, or thumma, with three exceptions. And in Laam al-Fi'l al-Amr, there's no particular harf before the Laam Saakinah. It's not preceded by any particular harf. So Laam al-Fi'l al-Amr is always found with sukoon, whereas Laam al-Amr is found with sukoon in the majority of places with three exceptions, where the Laam al-Amr is found with its original kasra. And the student must be able to recognize these three places. So we have لِيَسْتَأْذِنْكُمُ in Surah Al-Ma'idah, and we have لِيَقْضِي in Surah Al-Zukhruf, and we have لِيُنْفِقَ in Surah Al-Talaq. So these are the only three places in the Qur'an where Laam al-Amr is found with its original kasra, and it's not preceded by any of the three particles thumma, waw, and fa. And another difference, the last difference that the student can bring is an example. So an example of Laam al-Fi'l al-Amr is ألقها or وقل in وقل ربي. An example of Laam al-Amr is فليكتب and فليمدد. The student that has studied the rules of Laam Saakinah should be able to put words containing a Laam Saakinah into the correct category. And in order to do this successfully, it's important that the student can recognize and differentiate between nouns, verbs and particles. In the following slides, we're going to look at some practical examples of words from the Qur'an which contain Laam Saakinah. So here we have نبتهل and فنجعل. So these are both Laam al-Fi'l found in present tense verbs. نبتهل, in نبتهل we have wajib idhar, so you can see the lam has a sukoon sign, which is a sign of wajib idhar. And in فنجعل, the lam is empty, i.e. it doesn't have any visible sukoon symbol. So therefore, in continuation, the hukm is wajib idgham in فنجعل, and both of them are Laam al-Fi'l, present tense verbs. Laam Saakinah found in the present tense verb. In فلتقم, here you can see that the Laam Saakinah is preceded by a fa, which makes it Laam al-Amr. So here the verb taqum is a feminine verb. So when the Laam al-Amr enters the verb, then the verb becomes commanding. So the hukm here is always wajib idhar. And here in this example, qalbi. So here this is Laam al-Ism asliya. So the Lam is contained in the root word and cannot be taken out, and it's a noun. And the hukm is wajib idhar. And wa inna Ilyasa. So this again is the same, Laam al-Ism asliya. So this Lam cannot be taken out, and it's wajib idhar. Again, the hukm is wajib idhar. So what is the Laam Saakinah found in tilka? So tilka is in Arabic we call it ism ishara. In English we call it the demonstrative pronoun. So these are types of nouns. So this is Laam al-Ism asliya. Tilka is the feminine singular demonstrative pronoun. So Laam al-Ism asliya, and the hukm is wajib idhar. So here we have yulquna. So yulquna is again, it's a Laam al-Fi'l in the present tense verb, and this is a third person masculine plural verb, and the hukm is wajib idhar. This is a tricky one which students often get confused over because it looks like a verb and it looks like a noun as well. So this is actually a noun, Laam al-Ism asliya. The meaning is a curse, so the ones who are under a curse. So this is a masculine plural verb, mal'ooneen. So be careful not to mistaken this for a verb. It's a Laam al-Ism asliya. And in balrana, this is Laam al-Harf. So harf is only the Laam Saakinah found in al-Harf is only in bal and hal. And here this is the exception where the Laam Saakinah in the particle is followed by a ra, but the Hafs does not do idgham, he does wajib idhar because of the sakt. So the sakt wajib is preventing idgham between the lam and the ra. Be careful with the next example. The next example looks like it's lam ta'rif because we have hamzat al-wasl followed by a Laam Saakinah. This is actually a Laam al-Fi'l, it's actually a verb. So past tense verb, feminine dual verb, third person, and the hukm is wajib idhar. And starting from this verb will be with kasra, iltaqa, iltaqata. So be careful not to mistake this verb as a Laam ta'rif, Laam al-Ism. So here in yaltaqiyani, so this is Laam al-Fi'l in the present tense verb, and the hukm is wajib idhar. And here in faltaqa, so be careful, sometimes the student may think that it sounds like faltaqa, sounds like Laam al-Amr. But if in the rasam you can see there is something between the fa and the lam, even though it's hamzat al-wasl which is jumping over, this cannot be Laam al-Amr. So nothing can come between the particle thumma, waw or fa when it's joined to a Laam al-Amr. So here this is not Laam al-Amr, it's Laam al-Fi'l in the past tense verb, and the hukm is wajib idhar. So this is the third person, masculine, past tense, singular verb. So here we have two Laam Saakinah. So the student would be expected to give both types of Laam Saakinah. So the first type of Laam Saakinah is the Laam al-Ism in the Laam Ta'rif. So it's Laam al-Ism, Zaida ghayr lazima, and hukm is wajib idhar. And the second one in the middle is Laam al-Ism Asliya, which is part of the root, and the hukm again is wajib idhar. So the student should be able to identify both Laam Saakinahs in this noun. In the following slide, I want to bring to your attention a very common word which students often get confused over whether it's a verb or a noun. So the root words are Laam Qafiyah, so the root word has a Laam in it, and the meaning is to cast or throw or to meet. So this is a word which contains a Laam Saakinah that comes very frequently in the Qur'an. And in the majority of places it is a verb, and only in a handful of places it's a Laam Saakinah found in nouns. So be careful with the following words. So in these some examples where this word is found in a noun. So in fal mulqiyati, the first Laam is Laam Ta'rif, the middle Laam is Laam Asliya, Laam Ism Asliya. In al mutalaqiyani, again this Laam, first Laam Saakinah is the Laam of Laam al-Ta'rif. And in al-Mulqina, the first Laam is the Laam of Laam Ta'rif, and the second Laam is Laam al-Ism Asliya. And in Tilqa'i, again this is Laam al-Ism. So be careful with the following verbs. So these again, the root letters are the same, Laam Qafiyah, Yulqi, Idil Taqaytum. So be careful here, this Laam looks like Laam Ta'rif because it's preceded by Hamzat al-Wasl, but it's a Laam in a verb. So starting will be iltaqaytum. The same with iltaqa here. So this also is a verb. Wa an alqi. So in wa an alqi, again this is Laam in a verb, and here there's been the weak letter has been dropped in this verb. So you have to remember that the root letter contains a weak letter as a third radical. So therefore in here you have the third letter which has been dropped. Wa alqat, verb. Sanulqi, again verb. Falyulqihi. So here we have two Laam Saakinahs. The first Laam Saakinah is Laam al-Amr. So there's nothing between the fa and the Laam, so it's Laam al-Amr. And the second Laam Saakinah is Laam al-Fi'l. So be careful that you are able to recognize both types of Laam. Fa'ulqiya, again it's a verb. Wa idha ulqu, a verb. فألقاها, a verb. فألقياه, a verb. And وألقينا, a verb. So be careful with this very common verb which is found in a handful of nouns, and in the majority of the places it's found in a verb. So وإن تلووا is Laam al-Fi'l. Often if you can change, if the word begins with a ta or a ya, or a noon, and it can be changed to a noon or a ya or a ta. So I can say talwu, yalwu. If you can change the ta to a ya, then it's a sign of a verb. So here this is Laam al-Fi'l in the present tense verb, and the hukm is wajib idhar. And it's here this is a second person masculine plural verb. إذا حللتم is a third person masculine plural verb, and it's a past tense verb. So Laam al-Fi'l, and the hukm is wajib idhar. And here in wal yattaqillaha, so this is Laam al-Amr. So nothing is coming between the waw and the Laam is Saakinah. So this is a sign of Laam al-Amr, and the hukm is wajib idhar. Be careful with this word. Walladhani, it's a dual noun, and it's Laam al-Ism Zaida lazima, and the hukm is wajib idgham. So you have idgham between the Laam and the Laam. At the beginning of the lesson we mentioned that Laam al-Amr has an exception where in 3 places in the Qur'an it's found with its original kasra. The student should be able to recognize these 3 places. So the first place is in Surah Al-Ma'idah, لِيَسْتَأْذِنْكُمُ. The second place is in Surah Al-Zukhruf, لِيَقُضِي. And the third place is in Surah At-Talaq, لِيُنْفِقُ. So just a reminder that this is a commanding lam. So lam al-amr is an extra lam which is a commanding lam, and it's prefixed to a present tense verb which is found either in the first or the third person. And remember that the reason why it can't be found in the second person form of a verb is because the second person cannot be used to command something. So it can only be prefixed to a present tense verb either in the first or the third person, not the second person, because the second person cannot be a command. You cannot command the second person. These examples of these can be seen on page 94 of Tajweed QA. Be careful you don't mistake this lam in these places for lam harf jar, which is also found with the kasra. So the lam of harf jar is found with it's found before nouns, and it makes the noun majrur, so it gives the noun a kasra. And also be careful not to mistake this lam for lam at-ta'lil, which is prefixed also before present tense verbs, and this can be seen on page 94, QA part 2, Tajweed QA part 2. And the lam ta'lil puts the verb in nasab state, i.e. it gives the verb a fatha, whereas lam al-amr makes the verb majzoom, so it makes the verb puts the verb in jazm state. So for example, in liyaqudi we have hadaf of the weak letter due to jazm. So because the lam al-amr gives jazm to the verb, the reason of hadaf, the reason of dropping of the weak letter in liyaqudi is because of the lam al-amr. And again here in liyunfiq you can see the jazm on this verb here. And so be careful that you are aware that the lam al-amr gives jazm to the present tense verb. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.
وأن أتلو القرآن فمن اهتدى فإنما يهتدي لنفسه ومن ضل فقل إنما أنا من المنذرين.